Hey there, folks. So this is our last video, our third video about support documents that might be useful for you. And before we get started, if you can hear me but not see any images on your screen, what you'll need to do is close the video and reopen it using a different application. VLC is the one that works for me. But you may have another one, a different media player that will show you both audio and video. So the goal of this, as with the other two videos, is to give you some information and hopefully help you understand these documents a little bit more so that you can feel more independent or have more confidence in working with your students and having activities for them and tailoring some of those activities to their specific needs or their interests. So we are looking at grade 6 science in this video here as our example. And let's start out with checking out these links here. So there's the package with all of these links: social studies, math, and science. You'll notice that social studies and math have individual links for each grade, but science has kindergarten to grade 4 all put together on the same website. And then they also have grade 5 to grade 8 science on the same website. They look slightly different. So this is the image that you would see on the website for kindergarten to grade 4, as you see here. So rather than just a list like social studies and math, you see a table like this. It's organized vertically by grades, and then horizontally you see the different clusters. So we've got grade 3 cluster 1, grade 3 cluster 2, and so on. And then the black line masters are listed right here above that table. So this is kindergarten to grade 4. And then here is an image of the grade 5 to 8 science. And you'll see it's a little bit different. They have that same kind of table. So we've got grade 6 going vertically and the different clusters. And these are the different documents that you can look at for each unit or each cluster. And then they have the black line masters listed right along the bottom here. So one thing that is unfortunate, let's say, about the science documents is that they're not as well, there's a lot of detail, but there's not as much connection with the blackline masters and as many like worksheets or support documents that go along with it. So we start here with the overview of the cluster or the unit. So we're looking at cluster 4, exploring the solar system. This is typically a pretty fun one to do with students. And this gives you an overview of some of the ideas that they'll be learning about. And then we go on to this section where you see here suggestions for instruction. And the nice thing about this document, what they've done with the science ones, is that they have little teacher notes for you here. So they let you know that students have learned about some of this stuff that they're going to learn about in grade 6 in earlier grades. So in grade 3, they learned about forces that attract and repel. That's like magnetism in a lot of cases. And in grade 1. And then in grade 4, in grade 1, cluster 4, they learned about daily and seasonal changes. So they already have a little bit of background knowledge in some cases. We've talked about learning outcomes in the other videos. And what you see is that rather than having them in a big list, they have them right alongside the activity as they describe the activity here. So the learning outcome, we want students to be using vocabulary related to Earth and space. And then this activity is designed to introduce them to some of that vocabulary. So with this would be an activating type activity like we talked about in the social studies video. So they can make a chart write the title Learning About the Solar System on chart paper. You could do it on a whiteboard if you have one at home. You could do it on a big piece of scrap paper, whatever works for you. And then you can have your student or students write questions, words, phrases related to the solar system on there. And this is, again, a big part of activating, a great way to find out what the students already know. And another thing is also by finding out what they know, you're also able to give them correct information if they have ideas that are not accurate or if they're misinformed about something. So that's a great activating activity here. Let's keep on looking. Okay, so we're moving on to thinking about human needs. Here's our learning outcome here. Identify technological developments that enable astronauts to meet their basic needs in space. And we've got a scenario, a hypothetical situation. So the idea here is that students can think about what they would need to survive, and they can compare that with ideas of what astronauts would need to survive in space. So you see with this one, there aren't any black line masters to go with it. This is just sort of a chart that the students can make on their own piece of paper, or if you want to do it with them, you can do it on a big piece of paper or a whiteboard, something like that. So here are lots of questions that you can use to stimulate their thinking and get some ideas going. And then after they've learned some of those things, we have here a suggestion for assessment. So up here, writing out this chart and doing a KWL chart, that means what do I know, what do I want to know, and what have I learned? So you do that in different stages. And by answering these questions, students can get some of those ideas together, and then they can write a response here. So space travel has resulted in the development of new technological devices. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? Give reasons to support your answer. So this is a way for them to show in writing what they've learned. And then it also gives you a tip here for words that you can look for to see, because we're focusing on vocabulary and certain ideas here. So if students are including these ideas in their writing, water and food, shelter, breathing, temperature control, sleep, then that's a good indicator that they've probably learned some of those ideas. Now, again, I mentioned that there aren't so many Blackline Masters handouts or worksheets to support this science document. And unfortunately, they often refer to a textbook that I would guess you don't have, and they are quite expensive to buy. So this is one area where it would be useful to find information online, or of course, you can tap into me and let me know what you're working on, and hopefully I can find you some ideas to support those things as well. So here we're continuing with more learning outcomes. Canadians who have contributed to space science or space technology and describe their achievements. And again, nothing as far as a worksheet, but here's an explanation of an activity that you can have those students work on. Let's keep looking to see if we have more activities. No more activities for this one, but here's another assessment. And this is actually a situation that's pretty cool. Rather than you seeing what the student has learned, you actually ask the student themselves to decide, what have I learned from this? So that's another really handy thing that I've learned. Often students are really honest and really thoughtful if we ask them to think about their learning and to tell us if they've done a good job or if they think maybe they haven't learned it as well as they could. So something to keep in mind when you're working with your students. Here we go. It just continues. More suggestions for instruction. This is a bit of a research project. And then we have suggestions for assessment. So once they've done some research, then they can write up a report. There are lots of different ideas throughout this document. Some of them are, let's say, more exciting than other ones, but it's another great place to start, or at least to give you some ideas. And then, of course, remember, you don't have to be tied to this document. It's a great way just to get an idea, and then you can run with it. You can take it any way that you want. And always remember that your students are going to learn better. They're probably going to have more fun learning if you help them explore ideas that they're interested in. So talk with them about space. Ask them, what do they want to know about? What are some curiosities that they have? And then that's another great way to tie in some of these ideas in this document to learning that's going to be exciting, long lasting, and more meaningful for them. So, of course, if you have questions, you're welcome to email me. We can talk about them more. And remember that this document is something to help you out. Nobody expects you to be a professional teacher, but it's just a way to give you some ideas and allow you to hopefully feel more confident and take your students' learning in directions that you want it to go. So thank you for listening. I hope this video was useful, and I will talk with you next time.